Mheshimiwa Koech, what is the fury about now? Because, I mean, isn't everyone free to speak their mind?
Well, the Constitution has provided that liberty for people to speak, which is perfectly okay. But now when it comes to the former head of state, in my view, Uhuru Kenyatta has never recovered from William Ruto's win. He's still, he's still very upset, the fact that William Ruto is the president of this country. And he's very uncomfortable with it. By the way, if it was for Uhuru Kenyatta to decide if William Ruto should continue being the president, he probably collapse this country just for the sake of William Ruto going down. And that is why, is it not an issue that so many people...
You know that for a fact that people who spoke during his tenure were killed?
That should have been the case. It is still an issue to date. And
I'm asking, people that spoke against the government were killed. You know that for a fact?
Yes, for a fact, yes.
What action
Many people were silent. Many people were silent. Look, let me not even use example, outside example. Let me use myself as a real example. President Uhuru Kenyatta moved us and shuffled many of us who were in the committees.
So, when he's called to conferences, he should keep quiet?
He should not keep quiet.
Safi, karibu tena mtazamaji, hapa ni Bonita Media na huu ni mrengo wa kisiasa. Na kabla sijaenda sana, ningependa kusema shukrani za dhati sana kwa wale watu ambao tayari washaungana na familia hii ya Bonita Media, wale watu ambao washa subscribe, kwa sababu nilikwambia kwamba ili ungane na familia yote, kitu ambacho unapaswa kulifanya ni rahisi sana. Unabonyeza alama ya subscription ili wakati wote kuna ujumbe ambao imewekwa unakuwa miongoni mwa wale watu ambao wanazipata. Na vile vile ningependa kuwashukuru wale watu ambao tayari washa subscribe ukiwa uko upande ya Kenya. Nashukuru sana wale wenye wako Kenya, wale ambao wako kule Tanzania, Arusha, wale wenye wako Uganda, pale wale wenye wako Somalia, wale wenye wako Dubai, diaspora pia nawashukuru tukana kina Morin, nawashukuru sana kwa kazi ambayo mnaifanya. Ni kazi nzuri sana tena zaidi, na siwezi nikakosa kuwapongeza kwa kile kitu ambacho mnakifanya. Mnafanya jambo nzuri sana, kusubscribe, kuwatch pia ni nzuri, na washukuru sana kwa kazi ambayo mnafanya. So mtazamaji, kwenye video hii singeenda kuzungumza sana, lakini ningependa kusema hivi kabla sijakupea nafasi nao pia utazame wale watu ambao hawakutazama Daybreak pale Citizen TV asubuhi. Kuna jambo fulani hapa ambalo Koech analisema. Na mtazamaji, nina swali ambalo ningependa kuuliza, ya kwamba ni kwa nini sasa hivi kila mmoja anazungumza kuhusu Uhuru Kenyatta? Rais mstaafu tayari alishatoka afisini. Na licha ya kutoka afisini bado yeye ni Mkenya na anaweza katoa maoni yake popote, because in Kenya I think we have what is called freedom of speech. So uwezi ukazuia mtu kuzungumza. Uwezi ukaambia mtu kwamba wewe upasi kuzungumza, wewe upasi kusema hivi, upasi kufanya hivi. So kila mmoja anapaswa kutoa maoni yake. Sasa mmoja mtazamaji, nimeshangaa kusikiza Koech akisema ya kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta hapaswi kuzungumza, yani ni kama ako na depression, ako depressed, hajaiamini kwamba William Samoei Ruto ndio rais.
Mheshimiwa Koech, what is the fury about now? Because, I mean, isn't everyone free to speak their mind?
Well, the Constitution has provided that liberty for people to speak, which is perfectly okay. But now when it comes to the former head of state, in my view, Uhuru Kenyatta has never recovered from William Ruto's win. He's still, he's still very upset, the fact that William Ruto is the president of this country. And he's very uncomfortable with it. By the way, if it was for Uhuru Kenyatta to decide if William Ruto should continue being the president, he probably collapse this country just for the sake of William Ruto going down. And that is why this is not the first time.
Why would you say that?
This is not the first time he's urging the youth to stand up. He actually did it immediately after the Gen Z demonstration. And it is not genuine because, as a former head of state, we should evaluate and look at his past. Did he give space to the young people of this country to thrive during his tenure? He did not. Look at his cabinet, for instance, and tell me how many in his cabinet were young people. There was one or probably none at all. Look at the other sectors of our economy. We had given an opportunity to the young people of this country. Look at what happened during his tenure. Many young people who spoke were either murdered and, dumped in Rivayala, and many bad things happened to the young people of this country. For Uhuru Kenyatta today...
You know that for a fact.
Is it not an issue that so many people...
You know that for a fact that people who spoke during his tenure were killed?
That should have been the case. It is still an issue to date. And
I'm asking, people that spoke against the government were killed. You know that for a fact?
Yes, for a fact, yes.
Many
people were silent. Many people were silent. Look, let me not even use the example, outside example. Let me use myself as a real example. President Uhuru Kenyatta moved us and shuffled many of us who were in the committees. Do you know, in the sports committee in the last parliament, we were out of the 21 members of that committee, we were 11 members from the Kalenjin community in that particular sports committee. So many things happened for people who were spoken at that time. So let me tell you.
That was Uhuru's doing.
That was Uhuru Kenyatta, of course. So let me tell you this. Uhuru Kenyatta cannot be the voice of the young people. Uhuru Kenyatta cannot be the one telling the young people to stand up for their space. The young people, not just in Kenya, globally, know their space. They speak out their issues. They don't need to be incentivized by former president. So in my view, the former president is just being a sore loser. He is still terribly hurting. And that is why every moment that he is able to speak on a podium...
Sore loser. Now, let me just take you back to what you said, that during his reign, people that spoke against the government were killed. And you know that for a fact.
What
has the government done to correct that and to prosecute those responsible, including the former president, if you like?
So many things are happening, Sam. First of all, you must have the investigation watertight. When the president came in, you remember that he disbanded the team that used to do that execution. Some of the team that we are told were based in police, in Nairobi area police headquarters. Some of these things are still under investigation.
But they are known.
Amid quietly, that probably it is not publicized. But so many things are happening. There are murders that were executed that have never, ever been known how it was done. And those happened during the Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure. Yep. So Uhuru Kenyatta did not allow the young people of this country to speak. Never. Many times they were bullied. Remember, Sam, I don't know why Kenyans forget very quickly. Do you remember even, what was it called? The
BBI.
Building Bridges Initiative. Do you remember it was conducted in the counties? So many things, people were bullied, many things were run through, and certain proposals that were not very popular were made sure that they were on the table. So Uhuru Kenyatta...
Which was defeated at the courts.
Which were defeated at the courts. Because he bullied his way, because he wanted his way, and that is exactly what Uhuru Kenyatta was. He was a dictator. Many people did not realize. He cannibalized parties, political parties, because he wanted to rule. So he cannot be the voice today that is telling the young people of this country to speak. He did not allow them to thrive during his tenure.
So when he's called to conferences, he should keep quiet?
He should not keep quiet. There's a way former heads of state handle themselves. Look for instance, Kibaki, how he handled himself when he retired. Kibaki became a counselor, sort of, and an advisor to the President Uhuru Kenyatta. That is exactly how you should carry yourself. Not permanently being seen to be, seeming to be inciting and giving very populist statements that, in effect, are extremely dangerous.
Mheshimiwa Kibagendi, do you agree that the former president is speaking because he's a sore loser?
Absolutely not. And I don't find fault in what President Uhuru Kenyatta has been doing, encouraging young people to step up, not just in the political front, but across the board, in business, innovation, and even in sport. And that is what he has done across the continent. Why he gets invitations to speak is because of his outstanding performance in trying to transform this country. We have a government in power that lacks legitimacy. So any little thing provokes those who are extreme beneficiaries of the oppressive regime. That is why you see my brother here, Honorable Nelson Koech, is aggrieved. Honorable Soro and all the others you saw yesterday and over the weekend are unhappy when the former president reminds Kenyans that, hey, you need to step up in every other field. For them, they only think that he's inciting young people to get into politics and to push this regime out of power. They know Kenyans don't like this government. There is no government that has been unpopular like this government is. And I can tell you...
Do you want to define what oppressive regime is?
Oppressive in the sense that, I was getting to that, when Honorable Koech here tells us that there are people who are killed and thrown into River Yala, the most recent is what we have been seeing. And the government confessed, the president confessed, whereby we've seen young people get killed, we've seen young people get abducted in broad daylight, we've seen disappearances. What can you tell us about that? We had over and today, sorry to say, I have to mention this, I know it's a different media house, but BBC will be releasing a documentary on how many Kenyans were killed and how many have disappeared in just a short period of 2 years. Remember, in 2023, during the finance bill debate, sometime between April and July, we had massive killings in especially Kisumu and Kisii. I believe you remember that. Most of us are trying to remember what happened last year. So when President Uhuru Kenyatta steps up and speaks and encourages young people to step up to the plate in various fields, the current regime and the beneficiaries of this oppression and the schemes that are organized to benefit just a few get angry that people are getting informed. That is what makes these people get the kind of anger we are seeing. And you know, Kenya is in a political crisis whereby this government is hanging on a thread, or the president is clutching on straws. Why? Because at one point, Kenyans almost brought down this government. But they keep giving excuses. It is the former deputy president. Sorry. There were interferences from organizations that they later came to start praising, like the Ford Foundation and all that. Yet, really, the issue in this country is incompetency all the way from the top. And that has come, and it is affecting service delivery. Service delivery has made young people begin agitating. And by agitating, these people in government are feeling threatened. And what I've seen from what young people, especially in Kenya, have decided is that we will wait for these people and deal with them in the ballot. Because the way they wanted it to happen was unconstitutional. And when they tried to push it, they were killed, and we know. So don't give us excuses that people were thrown in River Yala and what have you. And what did President William Ruto do then? He was in government. He was sitting in the Security Council. He should have been able to speak up. He never did. So don't give us those excuses.
All right.
Don't scapegoat. President Uhuru Kenyatta has no fault in encouraging young people to step up. And I also encourage young people, go get your IDs, go register as voters. We have to get this regime out of power.
No.
So mtazamaji, mambo kama isa, okay, how does it affect Uhuru Kenyatta that William Ruto is still the president? Like, ujua, how is it going to affect Uhuru Kenyatta? Ya kwamba ati sasa William Ruto is the president na alikuwa anataka Raila Odinga awe rais. It's been 2.5 years since William Ruto awe rais, since Uhuru Kenyatta astaafu. Uhuru Kenyatta anafanya mambo yake inaendelea. Yeye alifanya kazi miaka 10 akamaliza. So William Ruto pia anapaswa kuprove kwamba licha ya Uhuru Kenyatta yeye kutotaka yeye kuwe rais, amefanya kazi, anaweza fanya kazi nzuri kuliko Uhuru. I think that is the only thing that tungeona. Mimi kwangu naisia kwamba that is the only thing that we could have seen. William Ruto could have proved that boss, licha wewe mwenyewe kutotaka kwamba mimi niwe rais, I think mimi naweza nikafanya kazi, naweza nikafanya kazi vizuri sana kukuliko. Ushaelewa? Yani kuna ile proving right, prove a point, like I can do this. Despite the fact that you didn't want me to do this, I can do it. Ni ile tu kwa mfano, wewe ni mwanafunzi na kuna yule mwalimu ambaye hakutaki mema. Yani anakuchukia, wewe ni mwanafunzi, mwalimu anakuchukia. Na baada ya mwalimu kuchukia, kile ambacho mwanafunzi mzuri hufanya, mwanafunzi mzuri hapaswi kungangana na mwalimu. Wewe kitu ambacho unapaswa kufanya ni wewe nenda ukasome. Kama ni hisabati, wewe nenda ukafanye, kama ni kemia ama ni biolojia, wewe nenda ukasome, wewe keti chini na vitabu vyako, wewe ukasome wakati wa mtihani ukija, wewe hakikisha ya kwamba umepita mtihani. Hata yule mwalimu ambaye alikuwa anakuona, alikuwa anakudharau akikuwa na nyanya, anasema kwamba wenyewe ukijana ama msichana amefanya kazi. So ile upendo inarudi. Ile madharau unapata kwamba inapungua. Lakini wewe ni mwanafunzi, unachukiwa na mwalimu na wewe pia unazidi kuweka chuki badala ya kufanya kile ambacho kinaweza kufanya mwalimu akupende. So that is the situation where we are. Kwa nini hawa viongozi wanaongea kila wakati Uhuru Kenyatta? No, sio hao peke yake. Kuna video nyingine I think nitafanya baada ya hii kwa wale viongozi wa UD ambao walikuwa mna mkutano kule Western. Walibebwa na Farouk Kibet. Wakaenda kule wakaanza kumpiga Uhuru. So unashangaa, what is it with fighting Uhuru Kenyatta?
Now, Mheshimiwa Koech, because you sat in those meetings, I don't know how much you witnessed. Help us, as an insider, help us.
China Sam was a huge success, a very huge success to the country. There are questions that I would really have wished that you had posed to Honorable Wandeto. Number one, I wanted you to ask him, does he think that the Mau Road is a noble project? Does he also think that Thika Road project was a noble project? Does he think that the Northern Bypass was a noble project? Or does he just think that because it is now different, it shouldn't be noble? Because if he's complaining that, we shouldn't borrow more, he should understand that we are even borrowing now to finance the Mau Road. Then probably we should be saying, no, let's stop where where it is, and we don't have to do any more roads. Sam, let me tell you.
Those examples?
No, because I'm just being naughty. But let me just
Nelson, some I think
let me just.
This is the second time.
No. Let me just come back to my story. Don't take my time, please. I'll allow you. I don't want him to use my time. Let me just.
Maybe he feels.
No.
I think Sam, I deserve a response on
please,
this.
Sam, you'll give him that.
Please allow me, Nelson,
No.
because it's the second time
Listen to me,
that he has
Sam. I want
started
to say this.
what I would call ethnic profiling in this show.
It was a huge success. Let me go back this way. No.
Talking about projects based on regions and ethnicity.
I think you've made
It is not.
He's saying.
It is not.
He's saying that you're doing it.
I was just being naughty, and that is why I'm saying you should have posed that question.
You're a national leader. You can't be naughty on TV.
You posed the question of SGR. Let me get to the gist of the story.
Road's part of the deals in China.
It is not. I'm just saying, is it a noble project? That's what I'm saying. Look, Sam, the 50-kilometer road, Thika Road, opened up central Kenya. When we went to China, part of the things that we must look at is which one is the most innovative ways, which Honorable Wandeto has even mentioned of them, of making sure that we still can attract investment. We still can attract resources to our country without overburdening the taxpayer. One of those models that he mentioned is PPP. Rironi Mau Summit Road, 175 kilometers. You should be aware that already been given to a French company called Vinci for 3 times probably what China is going to quote. And the model was totally different. What we have right now for 175 kilometers is going to be a PPP model where tolling policy is going to be applied. So if you're going today to, for instance, Nakuru or Eldoret, I'm told the people who are within the radius of 21 kilometers will not be charged, but the people who go further will be charged. And there will be alternative roads for those people who do not want to be tolled.
What will be the cost?
For what? I'm not sure about the cost because there's no bids that have been submitted yet.
But how did you know it's 3 times more expensive than French?
It is just an MOU.
Without numbers.
It is just an MOU that has been signed. And this is, of course, the expression of interest by this point. But, of course, there's another company that is already on the road. So, of course, you can't have...
I think Nelson is poor on facts and statistics this morning.
Sorry, Mheshimiwa.
Do you want to speak for me, Wandeto, or do you want me to speak?
No, because you have said 3 times and then you could not quote the figure.
I have said...
Okay, let him carry on.
China, please.
By the time
he was in China, we were expecting to have numbers.
By the time you are closing a deal with the French, of course, there must have been an expression of interest for someone to tell you that, no, look, here you are being conned. This is a better deal that we can give you. And I think, China will... And this is not even about that. Yep. My private business also is construction. I understand the value of working for both countries, the value that you get from working with a European country, for instance, and that of working with China. China will always be the cheapest option for road construction and bridge. Now, This is part of the things that was signed, is a PPP of 175 kilometers. Any person who's used that road to Nakuru all the way to Eldoret will tell you that the suffering that
So please make us understand here. So 175 kilometers, a deal is signed with who?
There's not, it's an MOU to say that they are, you know, China,
MOU with who?
China is willing, Chinese government that, you know, we are willing now
so the government of Kenya and the government of China?
China is willing now to participate in making sure that investors who want to come to the country will be cushioned by their country of China. Because you must remember that this is not a small investment. It's a huge investment. So any country must be involved. These two countries must be involved in that kind of negotiation because it involves a lot of money.
So when do you identify the contractor?
I'm sure now PPP, now it will check in. There's a PPP. I'm sure when the road is handed over, because there were still issues with the French company that had been given the project. So until it's officially handed over now to the government, which I think is going to happen this week or next week, back to the Ministry of Roads. Then from there, the Ministry of Roads, I'm sure, will invite the bid from China who want to compete for financing of that project.
So did you meet any firms in China?
No. This is a serious discussion between heads of state. So there is no contractors involved at that point.
It's not that
yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Now the other contractors will come in at a later stage.
So a Chinese firm is going to hand over the project, a French firm is going to hand over the project to the government of Kenya, Ministry of Roads.
Yes, you remember it had been...
What is the implication?
You remember it had been signed by... it is a private company.
Yeah.
Just
so what
the
is the
same
implication?
Way,
taking away a project?
Just the same. It's not taking away a project. It's just to say that we feel that this deal was signed at a different time, that this regime was not in, and we feel it is not expensive and not sustainable for our country.
Please remind me, how much was it with the French?
I'm not sure about the numbers.
So,
and I wouldn't want to go to the details of that particular deal at that time. I just want to use this opportunity to enumerate some of the successes on our China trip. Number two, Sam,
before you go on, so if the road is taken away from the French farm, what is the cost implication? Because there are contracts that were drawn. There must be exit clauses.
Those are details, those are administrative.
They are details, but they have an implication on the public funds.
Whatever the implications are, I am sure that implication will be way cheaper than entering into a new agreement with the Chinese. So if it is
not known.
I do not know, because I'm not an authority to speak on behalf of the roads authority, for that matter, Kenya. But I'm just saying, as a layman, and as a person.
As a layman, you chair the defense committee.
Yeah, but I'm saying because these are direct investments. These are people putting their money. These are people who are probably putting in pension fund.
People you do not know, Mheshimiwa Koech.
That's what I'm saying. When it goes to China, an evaluation will be undertaken, Sam. That evaluation will be able to tell us what are the companies bidding and what is the cost. All I'm saying is that, in a nutshell, it is a good deal for the country.
It's a good.
So mtazamaji, mimi sijui maoni yako ni gani baada ya kutazama video hizo. Ningependa nawe pia uniambie maoni yako ni gani, kwa sababu licha hayo mambo yote lazima tujue ya kwamba Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta hataki kiti yote. Uhuru Kenyatta sasa hivi aizi akasema kwamba kuna kiti ambayo pengine anataka kuwa rais, ama hataki. Jamaa kabisa hataki kuwa rais. Jamaa kabisa ashaondoka hapo. So ni jukumu la hawa watu wengine kujionyesha kwamba wanaweza. Ushaelewa? Ni jukumu la watu wengine pia kujionyesha kwamba sisi tunaweza. Licha ya mambo yote ambayo yanafanyika, ama licha ya hao kututakia mema, we can do it. We are doing it and prove that you're doing it. That is the only thing that people wants to see. Si hataki kusikia kwamba mara nini, mara Uhuru aamini nini? Aamini kwani yeye alikuwa anataka kuwa rais? Mtu ambaye tungeambiwa kwamba aamini kwamba William Ruto ni rais, pengine ni Raila Odinga, kwa sababu wao ndio alikuwa mgombea mwenza. Lakini ukituambia kwamba Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta aamini, my friend, you are losing it. Mtazamaji, nisikie mnayo kwenye sehemu maoni, na ningependa tukutane kwenye video ambayo inafuata ikiwezekana. Mimi kwa wako Boniface Owino. Bingo.